Hi, I'm Sandra. I live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I grew up in Kansas, and I've traveled around and moved to a lot of different places, but now I call Winston-Salem home. And one of the great things about being in Winston is I'm a member of Associated Artists of Winston-Salem, which is a fantastic arts organization here in Winston. I was first introduced to Associated Artists actually many years ago when I lived in the Charlotte area and knew kind of some of the happenings in Winston in the arts scene because of friends who lived in the Winston area. And I just heard many really good things about Associated Artists, but it was too far away for me to be a part of at that point. When I moved to Winston, I kind of just got busy setting up my own art business. And I was having a solo show in Yadkinville at the Yadkin Arts Facility, and I had one of the two galleries, and an Associated Artist member had the other gallery. And the night of our reception, he came up to me and he said, "You really need to get involved with Associated Artists. They will help you network, and they will just help your art career take off." So after that fellow told me about Associated Artists, I went to the website, of course, and immediately joined. So I have been a member for 2 years, and this is my 3rd year. And I'm just very excited about the possibilities that I've been having as a member of Associated Artists. There have been a lot of benefits for me personally to be a part of Associated Artists. First of all, the fellowship, the networking. We have a meetup every month on a Sunday afternoon, and sometimes there's just a few of us, maybe 3 or 4 or 8 people show up. Other times there might be 15 or 20, and we just sit around for a while, we visit. Sometimes somebody new will come and we'll ask them, what do you do? How long have you been a member of Associated Artists? We learned a lot about each other, so the fellowship has been great for me. I've never felt like I had as much of an art community as I do now through Associated Artists. I also love being able to be a part of the community exhibits, putting my art into various venues in Winston-Salem, and I also love being part of the shows that are put on by Associated Artists. Right now I have a solo exhibit, a community exhibit at Footnote Coffee and Cocktails in downtown Winston. And Footnote does this really cool thing when an Associated Artist puts art up there. They host a reception, an opening reception, and that was last week. And that was a lot of fun. I had friends and neighbors and family members come, and we just spent an evening enjoying the art and having conversation. And so my art will be there till sometime in May. I also have art now at the Benton Convention Center as part of the spring show that Associated Artists has there. And I'm getting ready to take a few pieces to Salem College to Associated Artists juried show that is there for, I think it's March and April is how long that show runs. Another great thing that's happened for me as being a part of Associated Artists is in the fall, last fall, I was able to represent Associated Artists as an organization by applying for an art grant through one of the local philanthropic organizations, foundations, and we won an art grant, and it's specifically to do arts programming in the village of Clemmons, which is where I actually live. And so we won an art grant to create a community mural, and we're going to be doing that in April. I'm currently in the middle of designing the mural. We have permission already. We have a memorandum of agreement with the YMCA, and we're going to use one of their buildings. They call it their pavilion. It's between their main building with all their equipment and their ball fields, and we're going to be creating this community mural there on April 18th, which is a Saturday, and April 26th, which is a Sunday. Those will be our 2 community painting days. We'll have the paint, we'll have the brushes, we'll have the drop cloths down. It will be marked off in sections, and come paint for an hour or come paint for 10 minutes. We just want to get the Clemmons community involved in this fun art project that will then be something that we can be proud of as a community. I've been working for over 40 years as an artist. A lot of that time has been part-time. Right now I'm very fortunate that I get to do art full-time. I think art is the one thing in my life that if I spend all day doing art, I still wish I had more hours in the day. I just love it. I thrive doing it. It feeds my soul and my spirit, and I just really enjoy it. My art practice involves a few different things. It involves my studio practice, obviously, where I create art, where I come up with new ideas and then test them and then come up with finished concepts and pieces. I also do a lot of teaching. Currently, I teach a lot in Louisville at the community center. I just finished a 5-week class there, and in March and April I will be teaching 2 in succession, a 3-week ink class and a 4-week flowers with style class, where we'll look at a lot of different art styles and we'll use mixed media to create art, to create flowers in specific art styles. I will be teaching up in West Jefferson later in the year, 2 different workshops, 2-day workshops, and I'll be teaching in Yadkinville in May. So teaching is a thing that I really enjoy. It brings me great joy to be able to take someone who thinks, oh, I can't do anything, I'm not an artist, I've never been able to do anything, and to show them through just some skills and lots of practice that they actually can create things. And many times people walk away amazed, like, I can't believe I did that. And that's just so thrilling to me, because I get so much pleasure from creating art. I love it if I can then hand that to other people. I've done a lot of teaching for a lot of years. We used to live south of Charlotte in Waxhaw, and during that time most of my students were homeschool students. I had homeschooled my own children, and it struck me that for homeschoolers, a lot of them don't have any other way to learn art than to have some kind of a non-traditional art class. So I started offering classes. I had a curriculum that I developed for junior high and high school students, and some of those students took classes for 3 or 4 years, so they really built their experience and their art knowledge as well as their experience. 3 of those students went on to go to art school, and that is really exciting to me, that somehow I helped stir their creativity and their desire to express themselves. The other part of my art practice, besides teaching and my studio practice, is my public art practice. I love doing murals, and I also love doing mosaics, mosaic installations. When I lived in Raleigh for a few years, I won an art grant and I created a mural mosaic combination in one of the city parks. And I just, it's a lot of fun to create something large that anybody can walk past and see, and maybe it puts a smile on their face. Maybe they appreciate whatever about the mosaic or the mural, but maybe it just makes them have a better day. So typically when I get an idea, a concept, something that I want to create, I have at least a mental list of projects that I want to accomplish at some point. But usually, there's quite a list. And so I think about the subject matter or the concept or what I want to actually express, what I want the viewer to get from whatever I decide to do. And then I spend some time thinking about how I think I can best express it. Because I do 7 different mediums, and sometimes combinations of several of them. I do a lot of mixed media that has ink and colored pencil, maybe some graphite and acrylic paint. And then I use each of those mediums separately, and I think, okay, how is this best gonna portray what I want? Sometimes that means I take that concept or that topic and I do more than one art piece with it. And one example of that is the two pieces that I'm going to have in the Salem show. It's the same topic, but I'm expressing it. One is pure ink and ink wash, and the other one is acrylic paint and a very whimsical painting style. And when I first got the concept of doing that particular topic, I actually thought I might do 3 pieces, but I found myself satisfied with what I've expressed in the 2, so I don't think I'll revisit that one. But many times, it does take a while before I decide how I want to express it, or partway through I might decide, oh, I think I want to add this medium as well. With the ink, because I love it so much and it's such an investment of time, it's a very slow medium, because I use a dip pen and a bottle of ink. I don't use the micron pens, which is what most ink artists use now, but I've tried them and I don't feel the same thing when I use a micron pen that I do with a bottle of India ink and a dip crow quill pen. But when I start creating something with ink, unless I've decided ahead of time that I'm going to make it more than one medium, I find it really hard to introduce something else, because I guess I'm such a purist with ink. I think it's on the one hand, it's very stark, but on the other hand, it's so detailed and nuanced for someone to get up close and see. My work right now that's at Footnote Coffee and Cocktails is one series of paintings that I have, and then there are 13 or 14 inks there. And at the opening reception, it was really exhilarating, because several people came up to me after they had viewed this whole string of ink works, and they came up and they said, how did you do all those details? How did you get all they were just drawn because they could walk right up and look at it close up. And so I love doing that. I love kind of the surprise that people have when they know that you've done that one dot at a time or one stroke at a time. So this piece is called Cheetahs Number 2, and I'm creating it right now because Cheetahs Number 1, which was similar size but horizontal rather than vertical orientation, actually sold when it was at the Benton Winter Show. And this piece is part of a series that I have called the Two Color Series, because all of the canvases represent animals that have patterning on them. And so I break them, or I reduce them down to the 2 colors that they are, and then use the patterns. They are not complete pictures. If you zoom in, you'll see that none of these cheetahs in this have a completeness to them, because the viewer's eye finishes the picture as they're stacked front to back and as they overlap each other. The rest of this series is currently at Footnote in the front part of that facility, and it's part of the solo exhibit there. So that exhibit has the complete 2 Color series, and then it has a lot of my ink animals as well. So the process with this, I have on my computer a photo file of probably 1,000 cheetahs, because I want to have them from every different angle, and I want to have little ones and large ones. And then there's this unique type of cheetah. It's not a different subspecies, but it's called a king cheetah, and they have the striping and the almost like a mane. And so with all of my cheetah paintings that I've done, I want to have one of those up front and forward, because they're so unusual, and to me they're so beautiful. So I use this photo file to help myself be accurate with the shaping and the patterning of the spots and all. In fact, you can see right now, because this one's not complete, you can see places where I've had to go back over with the cream because maybe I put too much with the spots, or like on some of these I ended up with the spots a little too close together. for how far back they are, so I have to go back in and cut in, and I probably have maybe 8 to 10 more hours on this before I think maybe I have all the cheetah in it that I'll put, but there's just a lot of detail and crispness that needs to happen with it before I call it done. When we were living in Raleigh, I had a solo show at a venue in Durham, and actually the owner of the venue, when my art was up, and it was mostly inks as well as a lot of animal inks, and she just came up to me and she was like, "Oh, I've got to have one of your inks. I can feel their spirit coming out and speaking to my spirit," and she was like so drawn to this experience of these animals, especially through their eyes. She felt like she could see in their soul and that they could see into hers. So that was a little bit different take than I think anyone's ever expressed before. People certainly say things about the way I draw eyes in animals and in humans, but for her, there was this spiritual element that came through the eyes. I think there are several things I hope that viewers get out of my art. Occasionally deal with heavy topics, but mostly I create art that I want, as I said before, I want someone to have a smile on their face. I want them to feel something joyful or good when they look at that art. Maybe it'll evoke some memories or whatever. Another thing that I personally hope with my art is I want to expand somebody's worldview. I want somebody to notice something that they maybe never noticed before. I have a colored pencil piece that I did years ago of an iris flower, but instead of the outside of the iris flower, it's looking down into the inside of the flower. So it's a different vantage point, it's a different viewpoint. And I try to do that, with the Glimpses of the World series. Those may be places that whoever looks at it maybe has never been. And I just want them to think about and celebrate the beauty and the diversity that's in our world, of culture, of humans, the way they look, the things that they celebrate, places that are exciting or mysterious. And same with animals. Animals have such amazing patterning, and I want people to enjoy that. Take a minute, look at that ink piece of a leopard or of whatever you're looking at, and notice the details that you hadn't ever noticed before. So that's a lot of what I hope for when people look at my art. I sometimes create flowers in shades of gray and black and white, and some people are like, well, the nice thing about flowers is their color. Well, yeah, but what if you exploit that in shades of gray? Again, it's a different vantage point, and it's an invitation to think about something a little differently. Right now, I'm very excited about this mural that's coming up in April with our organization, Associated Artist, and how we're going to get the whole Clemmons community involved in creating a mural together. I've applied to and hope to be going back in May to Carolina Beach has a mural fest, and I was there last year, and that was a lot of fun. It's live painting all weekend, one weekend in May, and I should know in the next week or two whether I'm going to do that. I just applied for another mural. I applied last week for another mural, so I have just these things I'm trying to line up. I hope to start figuring out the magic sauce for getting more commissions, both with my murals and my mosaics, as well as just with studio pieces as well. That's a great joy to be able to, if someone has something that they want, and to be able to give them something that really speaks to them and has a treasured spot in their house. I think if someone's kind of early in their art career, or they're not sure what direction to go, I just want to encourage you to just keep creating art. Do something every day if you can. Even if you don't do art full-time right now, pick up a pencil. If you have a few free moments during your lunch break at your other job, just sketch a little bit. Keep thinking of ideas. Notice the art around you. Talk to other artists. Get involved with a group like Associated Artists, wherever you are, and enjoy the advantages of not just being a lone wolf, but being stimulated by other artists who are, who are further along in their careers than you are, or artists who are just starting, and you can kind of nudge them and help them. But that's a huge thing, to have an art community. Also, keep learning. Sometimes we get stuck in the style that we create in, and we forget to say, oh, what if I tried a different style, or what if I tried a different angle? Study that. We have such a great advantage having the internet, because we can watch YouTube videos, we can follow people on Instagram who do art differently than we do, and we can be inspired, and we can dig in and do research and try new things. And I think that trying new things and being involved with other artists are probably two of the things that will help you continue to love doing art and want to keep doing it for a long time. Fun fast fives about me. I grew up on a family farm, 4 generations in Kansas. Grew up with cattle and hogs and horses and dogs. Second thing, I have moved 25 times in my life. Change of address, not just staying somewhere for a little bit. Another one is my favorite running event when I used to run, I ran for 42 years, was the Blue Ridge Relay. And it starts in Grayson Highlands, and it goes all the way into downtown Asheville. You run as a team, and you one right after the other. You run all the way through the night. It's great. It was so much fun. I got to do that 2 times. I've also been a home coffee roaster for 14 years, and that's a great pleasure of my life. The last of the 5 is that last November, my husband and I rode our bikes across the Canary Islands. We took ferries in between each island, so we would break it up into several days, ride anywhere from 22 miles to almost 50 miles a day, climb over 4,000 feet of elevation gain some of the days, and total we rode about 280 miles over 8 rides, and we just had a blast. The Canaries are beautiful. It was so much fun. It's been a lot of fun doing this interview, and I just want to tell you, if you want to follow my work, you can follow me on Instagram under Sandra Kimzey Wimbish. I also have a Facebook art page. It's just Sandra Kimzey Wimbish Art. And I have a website dedicated to some of my art, which is sandrawimbish.com. You can also go to Associated Artist website, and you can see artist members, so I'm represented there. And you can also check out some of our current exhibits, some of our current shows, and more about the mural, which will be coming up in April here in Clemmons.